Welcome to Final Whistle Weekly. The drama just keeps on coming. We're going to talk about the glorious highs for the women's team and the glorious highs and lows of the men's team. Plus, we'll be hearing from the man who scored one of the most iconic goals of recent years for Wrexham, Tumber Massanka. What a gent. But anyway, firstly, I'm joined by a couple of other gents, Neil Williams and Chay. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, all good, all good. Looking forward to talking about, especially the women's game. But yeah, looking forward to talking all things Wrexham today.
Absolutely. Andy, it doesn't look like we'll be able to join us, which is a shame because my rough voice is partly down to taking his kids, my godchildren, 10-pin bowling on Monday. I made the mistake of starting with the volume at 11 and a couple of hours of shrieking later. It was, my voice was shredded. It didn't help that I was, how can I put this? I don't think I'll elaborate on this anymore than to say I enjoyed loudly celebrating Wrexham's goals on Sunday above the Swansea dugout. I feel if you listen back to it, you may feel there's a bit of particular punch about my celebrations. And of course, they gave me a lot to celebrate. So after this, well, why don't we have a chat about Wrexham 5, Swansea City 0. Right, so Wrexham beat Swansea for the first time ever, the women's team that is, and after 4-3-2 defeats in a row, well, finally the dam collapsed, and when it did, my word did it collapse. A 5-0 victory. I mean, I tell you what, it was well worth the wait, lads. I tell you, it was absolutely sensational.
Yeah, just watching the highlights, Mark, I could tell in your voice how excited you were when they were scoring, and it could have been far more than 5, couldn't it? I mean, we have to say it was a cup game. It's a shame it wasn't a league game, but that's to come. But yeah, an emphatic win for the women on Sunday against one of their old foes, Swansea.
Yeah, and it kind of breaks that little bit of what's the word? I can't think of the word off the top of my head, but to beat one of them, the two big ones, so convincingly, got to be so good for. Let's just say things don't go our way on Sunday, which I think we're going to be in for a tough game Sunday because they're going to be wanting to prove. Swansea are going to want to prove themselves a lot more. But looking into next season, that yes, we can beat these. We can beat Swansea. We can beat Cardiff. We can beat TNS. We can beat them comfortably. Not only is it good for this season now and progressing into the cup, which the semi-final was pulled out today, wasn't it?
We got Pontypridd.
Yeah,
Pontypridd.
Yeah.
So on paper, the easier match to play, arguably. It's going to do wonders for the confidence, especially going into next season, especially after we having such a rocky start. Yeah, over me, and 5-0, Mark. What a result!
Yeah, absolutely. And as Neil said, really could have been more. We were sensational. I mean, I feel that Steve Dale really sets up teams well. And on this occasion, I mean, Swansea have a very clear identity. They look to pass out from the back. They made some poor mistakes last Sunday in the FA Trophy, Sunday before last, in the FA Trophy final against TNS. And they doubled down on their passing style out from the back, and our pressing was sensational. I mean, we were just forcing mistake after mistake. We were camped in their half, and we were smothering them when they tried to get away on the breakaway, and it was just so fabulous. And I mean, I've got to be honest, one of the key things for me, you got to ask yourself, obviously, about mentality. We just haven't been able to beat Cardiff and Swansea, like you said, Chay. And there's got to come a point where it really gets into your head. And I've got to say, for this team, the admiration I've got for them, spreads in so many different directions, but one of them is that it clearly hasn't got into their heads. They've just got more and more determined to beat them. And I had a little thought at half time. It was 2-0. It was very one sided. And I just had that little thought, please don't go into the changing room and stop and think about this. Because, if it wasn't for the fact that it's one of those two teams that we've never beaten and they always seem to find a way back, I think you just carry on and pressure and pressure. And I thought, don't. I know the coaches wouldn't allow this, but don't let any doubts in your mind creep in as to how they're going to get back into it. And I've got to say, I said it in the Final Whistle podcast about it, but any concerns I had disappeared the moment the second half started because oh my God, we were at them like you wouldn't believe at the start of the second half. There was a real attitude of, right, let's finish these now. And oh gosh, I haven't got it to hand, but I counted up. We scored the third goal in the 7th minute, bang on, 7 minutes, 1 second of the second half. I ended up going through and noting it all because in those opening 7 minutes, we had 11 opportunities to score in 7 minutes. And I mean, okay, I'm talking about a through pass that gets intercepted, a player making their run too soon, being offside, but nonetheless, 7 serious situations that could have resulted in a goal. I was 11 in 7 minutes. With the ball in their net after 10 seconds, it was disallowed for offside, and correctly, but it wasn't like someone standing miles offside. It was just, it was sensational. And it was great. That meant we could bring Lily Jones off because she was limping like heck. It was just like, when you control a game to the extent that you can, we better get another goal toward us so we can rest one of our players early. That's a level of control, isn't it? It was wonderful, honestly.
To beat him so convincingly as well, Neil, it's got to be huge, isn't it? But especially going into another huge clash against the same side on Sunday again.
Well, yeah, we think the confidence is with Wrexham, and Swansea going to think on Sunday what we're going to be battered again. I mean, I remember Mark saying with the commentary, with your co-commentator Mark, why Swansea were playing out the back all the time because we were closing them down and pressing them and making them make mistakes all the time, and they continued doing that, and wondered why they didn't change their tactics out from the back. Another point is, yeah, we've got Pontypridd, but we've got to remember that they're top of their league in the south, so it won't be an easy game. I don't think it'll be, because they could be playing in the same league as Wrexham this time next season.
Yeah, it'll be a neutral ground, which, seeing as it's a Welsh FA competition, I assume will be Bridgend. In fact, I earlier today, for a future Final Whistle, I interviewed Mike Salmon, Wrexham's goalkeeper in the late 80s. And he said how shocked he was that he played in a Welsh Cup final against Cardiff, and he'd never played in the Welsh system before. And he was somewhat startled to find that the Welsh FA's idea of a neutral venue when Wrexham play Cardiff is Swansea. Nice equidistant venue, that, isn't it? Lovely. But yeah, we were so good. I mean, I felt that is their style of play. I get it. If they want to keep passing out from the back, they should have been a bit more judicious as to when to get rid of it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that is their DNA. That's how they want to play. Cool. They were rather predictable, and they stuck to the same patterns of passing out from the back, and we were ready for it before they started. I'm sure they'll have worked really hard this week, so next Sunday they have different passing patterns to get out from the back, but that is their style.
I had this rant about Notts County last season where, you're playing these sides who have this, oh yeah, we pass from the back and this is what we do. But when passing out the back goes awfully wrong, for me, you've got to have a plan B. You've got to go direct then. You've got to be able to lump it long, lump it over the top, make it a bit ugly. Yeah, it's all well and good having your DNA, this lovely, beautiful passing as your DNA, Mark, but you've also got to have a plan B as well, in my personal opinion.
I agree and don't agree. Because I'm difficult like that, aren't I?
Because Wrexham, the men's team, can pass it from the back. We can also play it long. I think I don't know. I'm a bit more traditional. I like the passing out from the back, but for me, when it doesn't work or if it's not working, it can go horribly wrong for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just don't see it as a binary thing. I don't. For me, I don't feel that it's like if you can't pass it out from the back, you got to go route one. I just feel like you can have a different type of passing out from the back. You know, they'll work so hard on their patterns of passing for short goal kicks and things like that. Well, you know, there needs to be enough variety that you can throw something different into the mix rather than what they were doing against us, which was the same thing. And then we've got players who were chasing it down like crazy. They were loving it. You could see they were loving it. The Swansea were doing exactly what we expected. And, you know, we were like those wildlife documentaries where a cheetah running down a gazelle. That's what it was just brilliant to watch. But I just feel you could maybe have maybe a more hybrid style because they're not going to have perhaps, yeah, well, not just them and general. You may not have the players who can then win long balls. So you end up abandoning what you do and then playing into the other side's hands. But they certainly were savaged, and I think that's a good word for it. We really were. We were frighteningly good. Which leads us to next Sunday, and the big blow for me is that Liv Fuller was injured. Lee Jones is injured too. Strongly suspect Liv Fuller's not going to be playing on Sunday. It looked nasty. And I didn't like the challenge either, quite frankly. I felt it was a challenge of next Sunday in mind. And Lily got kicked in the ankle hard. Ref didn't give a card because, you know, first half. And she was limping. Oh, it was epic, Lily Jones. You know, she's limping for the rest of the game. But when the ball comes near her, she can sprint. Because she'll push through the pain. But like I said, 7 minutes into the second half, we go 3-0 up. First thing we do, Lily, get off. Because she was superb. Now get a break. So I don't know how she'll be. Fuller surely won't be fit. Those two and Brooke Cairns in midfield, I reckon the way they're playing right now would boss any game in the top division against any side. That's a midfield trio that can do everything. They can tackle, they can pass, they can run, they can shoot. They are three superb all-round midfielders. So I just hope that, you know, at least two of them are available on Sunday because, but it would be a blow to not have Fuller, who is just such a high-class player. But yeah, Swansea will have to improve markedly to be competitive on Sunday. I think they will improve, and they got to. But we were good. Oh my word, we were good.
It could work well for Swansea where it could up their game so much to the point where they're like, oh, we're not going to let Wrexham come down again and give the hiding. It's time for us to return the favour now. So I'm probably expecting a lot more tighter, more intense game, especially with it being away from home on Sunday, for sure.
But it's interesting, isn't it? If they do try to change how they play and they don't play out in the back so much, they are going against, like I said, their DNA, the way they've played ever since the manager Sherwood came in, and that's quite interesting. You know what I mean? How will that go? They've got dangerous attacking players who we controlled superbly. How will it go if they try and adapt to a different style of play? What will they do? It's absolutely fascinating.
But they at the end of the day, they've just got to avoid losing, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah.
And job done for them. So we've got to really, really go for it. So
yeah,
it's all on us. And you know, if we can get 1 or 2-0 up before half time again, and Swansea really have to come at us, you can see a repeat of Sunday. But it's got to be good for the Wrexham players' mentality as well. What a cracking result, and probably the best in the women's history, isn't it? Really,
it was certainly a good one. Beating Britain Ferry in that playoff was maybe the number one, I think. But it was amazing. I would say as well, keep an eye on the team sheets when they come out, because I think that would be quite interesting. With Fuller not being fit, you can put Mary Gibbard in, who is another very adaptable, really good central midfielder, who would be comfortable in a holding role. And I think if you played those three in that sort of game, that's probably where you'd be likely to put her. Although she can do well supporting the striker. However, the other alternative is Rosie Hughes comes in, and you've got her and Abby Iddenden up front, plus Ava Suckley, who's been playing up front and is a threat. I mean, I'm telling you, she's a force of nature. She's always trying to cause trouble to defenders, playing as an attacking midfielder, which she does well. If we go that direction from the start, we are going to go for them. And she will be able to join in with the press, as she did so well when she was playing up front on Sunday. So, yeah, if it's Rosie in and Suckley in midfield, stay tuned. And if you're able to watch it, because we are going to go for it, and it's going to be interesting to say the least. Oh man,
Yeah, well,
can't wait
it's a
to
game
see
we've
it.
got to go for, really, Mark, isn't it? It's a game we've got
Oh,
to
yeah.
go for because we've got to win to get into the top four and overtake Swansea in the league. So it's a game Wrexham we've got to go all out to win.
Yeah.
As speaking to you tonight, you're really torn because you can't attend the game, and I know how much you've got involved and excited about the women's game and doing the commentary there. So obviously the men's team have got a game on Sunday as well away from home. So you're missing out, but it is going to be live on S4C, I believe, isn't it? So
that's right.
It can be a game that a lot of people can watch on Sunday after the men's game.
That's exactly right. So it is being streamed live. It's not on the terrestrial channel, but it is being streamed live on their website, and that also means we wouldn't be allowed to stream it. So I would be redundant anyway because you don't need a commentator if you haven't got a stream. So yes, I am going to Mansfield.
What time is the kickoff on Sunday again?
5:10. So it's a perfect Wrexham day for the armchair fan. Watch Mansfield. Only got about 20 minutes. I'll be honest, my plan is to wrap up that commentary and get into Geraint Parry's car because he's given me a lift, God bless him. And thank you always to him for that on Sunday, and try and hope that the signal holds out while I'm watching it on my phone. That's my plan. If he wants me to commentate for him, I'll do it.
Nobody's obviously that helicopter yet then, Mark, then?
I'm afraid not, no. I'm hugely disappointed about that, but I understand that Mr. Reynolds and Mr. McElhenney have, I guess got other things on their minds, stands, stuff.
All I've got to say is I'm off the next day, so I'm going to have to stock up that fridge with all sorts of beers for both of those games. So
good man.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, my two final points on this are, firstly, I wish we hadn't dropped those 2 silly points at Cardiff Met, because then we don't need a draw. But that's in the past. You can't affect that. And the second one is, there's likely to be entertainment. Since the team was incorporated into the actual football club in 2018, we've never had a 0-0 draw. It ain't going to start on Sunday. I can promise you that, because we'll be going at them. They've got to try and respond. That's going to be a game of football, that is. Man, it's going to be a game of football.
I can't wait.
I have other things I'd love to say about it, but I think I should wait until I see the result first. But, yeah.
Just going back to the game, Mark, what I've read and heard a lot, was there a bit of antics from the Swansea officials on the side of the pitch for the whole game and complaining about everything?
Let's say that they are, as benches go, loud. I mean, the gantry at the Rock is right over the dugouts, and I mean, I'm not naive. Benches shout for everything. Benches get involved. It wasn't quite, and obviously it was nowhere near the Wrexham Eastleigh ruck. Remember that, Chay, in lockdown?
Yeah.
Suddenly both benches started having a fight.
That was brilliant, that was.
And it ended up with Dean Keats being pushed by one of their substitutes into the concourse where the food stuff is, by the toilets, apparently.
Yeah.
And that was something. But on us on the opposite side, just watching all these substitutes like jumping over the rows of seats and trying to get involved, and you're thinking, "Ooh, 2-meter distance? Don't think so, not anymore." I felt sorry for Sean Peterson sitting in front of us. He wanted to be right in the middle of that, didn't he? But yeah, they they pushed their luck a touch, if I'm honest with you. They were, some of the stuff they were up to with the, trying to pressure the referee and the linesman. I thought it was a bit much.
But
That's football, though, isn't it? That's football.
that is football at that level, that isn't, and
Yeah.
you've got to say you can't really blame them, because if that can work and you can intimidate a referee by doing that and that wins you the game, then that is what it is. It's up to the referee to shut that down, isn't it?
But the referee was quite strong, actually, to be fair to him. He was good. And I can't remember if I said this to you or not, but a few weeks ago I was reading a thing. There was a scientific paper on how referees get affected by crowds, and it seems to claim that referees are more likely to go against a home crowd to show they're unbiased.
Yeah.
So maybe all that grief, Lucy was making the point in the commentary, maybe all that grief they were giving him was making him think, right, well, I'm not backing down here. But the referee was good, although could have given a yellow for the foul on Lily and could have given a red for the foul on Liv, if I'm honest. But having said that, it was, all in all, he was sound enough. And we go on Sunday for, wow, a hell of an encounter. Should we get onto the men's team with their fluctuating form?
Let's do it.
I think we should. Let's talk about that after this. A win and a loss. The extremes of emotion, everyone. Well, Phil Parkinson always says, and he's quite right, never get too high when you win, never get too low when you lose. So I guess we should be feeling very sort of
mediocre.
I wasn't saying mediocre wasn't the word I was going to use. We should be very level emotionally, is what I'm trying to say, because we were great on Saturday and we weren't on Tuesday, especially in the second half. I would argue that was we've a lot of bandwidth in our performances in the last few days.
Yeah, it's a really strange 2 games, because I was really looking forward to talking about the Northampton game after the Northampton game on Saturday. But it's always the last game that you've played that's in your head a lot more clearer, especially because I watched the Northampton game in the pub. But but yeah, to be fair, I was really pleased with the Northampton game because we didn't really get out of second gear, and we beat them very convincingly. They didn't really lay a glove on us. Really happy with the performance from Smith. It was nice to see. It was pretty crazy. Clewiff's first yellow card this season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which for a centre half probably shows how much quality he's got, because he's not lunging into things and making mistakes. But people think they can pick on Clewiff. Fair play to him. He stood his ground, got a yellow card for it. Hey ho! I was really impressed. I was really happy with Saturday, Neil. 2-0. Can't really complain, can you?
No, not at all. I think it was one of our best performances of our way this season, to be fair. 2-0, I think, was a bit flattering on Northampton. It could have been a few more if we'd have been a bit more clinical. And, we played an excellent game of football for the whole 90 minutes. Really happy, Marky, with the game. And you can see it through the eyes of a commentator. I think we dominated that game really well. And took the 3 points away back to North Wales, totally deservedly so.
You can see the difference the new strikers made in terms of our confidence away from home and our ability to get the ball forwards to them effectively. Mullin can run in behind, obviously, and Marriott. Smith does it in a slightly different way. He's all about power, and it suits him to just drop it in and let us turn defences. He's physically able to scrap for balls he can't get to. He gave their central centre-back in the Free Willis an absolute nightmare. He was carrying an injury. He had to go off after half an hour, but Smith forced that substitution because he was just bullying the guy. It was absolutely terrific to watch. And the way that the midfield stepped up and put the pressure on. I mean, it's people's memories are short, because I've seen people after Tuesday say, well, we can't use Dobson in that more advanced midfield role. We can't use Dobson and James in the same midfield trio. It worked damn well on Saturday. It's got to be said, Dobson and Rathbone were high up the pitch, getting all the scraps. If we knock the ball in behind and they could get it half clear under pressure from Smith, those two are right on it, winning the second goal balls. That's how Rathbone scored his goal. But Dobson was doing that as well. And yeah, it was like clockwork. It was. I'll tell you, after that, so then go on the game on Sunday, I was thinking, this is my dream weekend. This is nothing can go wrong now.
But
And then Tuesday happened, unfortunately.
if we're going to mention the Northampton, though, as a little slight caveat,
Yeah.
not knocking what the players saying, but I think Northampton are a very poor side. I've got to say, over the two games we've seen them play at the racecourse and at their ground, I don't think they're a very good side, and that's quite brutal. We should be beating sides like that if we're going to be pushing for these automatic promotion spaces.
Agreed. Although I would say I thought that at racecourse they looked like a poor side. I thought on Saturday we made them look like a poor side. Personally,
Yeah,
they'd won the last two games, against decent opposition. And their new manager has come in and I think has done well with them. But I just thought that we didn't give them a sniff of anything. We were at them from the start, which was lovely to see in an away game because people are worried about our away form. But haven't we said all along, our away form will get us there. We just need to sort that home form out, don't we? It's in a row at home in the league now, isn't it?
Well, let's talk about that game because I'm glad we didn't do this podcast straight after the final whistle because I was quite angry. But on the flip side to that, I usually cool down after a couple of days. First half, there's not much complaints by me.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I thought we played all right. We got the goal and they equalised. They look like a good side in all fairness, especially I thought going into that second half, I thought, oh, here we go. We're a second half side. We'll get back into this. And you've got to give credit to Leyton Orient. They defended really, really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, they did do well, didn't they, Neil, to be fair?
Yeah, we were saying at half time, Mark, that, it was a good game first half, equal side. We scored a great goal and we were quite dominant. We could have scored a couple more. And they scored with basically their first shot on goal, the first breakaway. And if we said half time, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Played really well." Second half started, they scored their quick goal, and then after that, I think we didn't have the answers to break them down.
Yeah, I found it strange how much it affected the team and the crowd when they went ahead in the start of the second half. To be honest, because we are so good at home, because the team and the crowd are on the same page and support each other so well, drive each other on so well. But everyone seemed to, oh my gosh, we're losing to these now. Oh, panic. I think maybe that's a bit strong saying panic on reflection, but certainly I felt we lost our identity. We forgot what we do well, and we failed to really move the ball forwards in a sort of progressive manner. I thought Orients were excellent. I thought they did really, really well. They actually ruffled Cleworth and Brunt, which is something, I would argue. And they were so quick on the break, and then when they brought their subs on, they picked up where the players who replaced left off and continued to put pressure on us. But I was happy with the first half. I thought the first half was good. The first half felt like a lot of games we played against strong sides where we were digging in. We're as good as them. I thought they played a bit better in a way, but we actually had more chances than them, considerably more chances than them in the first half. And I thought this is going to over these games where we dig in, crowd get behind us, we fight, we improve as the second half goes on. We're all right, yeah. But then the second half was like we just suddenly ran out of petrol in the middle of the moors, wasn't it?
I was so impressed with their defenders, so organised.
Yeah.
Nothing was getting past them. Defensively, they really, really impressed me. They're a side that I look at and I think I wouldn't want to play them over two legs in a play. Straight away, I thought this is a very good side. And their manager is being touted for the Blackburn job as well, isn't he? So I think it says all you need to know about the quality of him and the quality of their team. But my biggest problem with that performance, second half especially, is we did not challenge their goalkeeper at all. I don't think he even had to barely had to make a save. It's a bit worrying at home, that, isn't it? Especially when we're known for it to be in the second half, tech end, shooting at the Stoke Brew coffee stand side.
Yeah, I think I go back to what Mark said. When they scored their second goal, both the team and the crowd just didn't know how to restart the game, basically, and the crowd were very quiet. But it wasn't until we actually got to the added time that we actually tested their keeper again. Which is what you're saying. We struggled to break through their defence, and as you say, they look solid. Their defence, they threw bodies in front of the ball, and they blocked everything that we tried to do. So, but we only woke up for the last 10 minutes of the game, including the added time, to put any kind of pressure, real pressure, on their defence and on their goal.
I thought. Sorry, go on.
We did have a couple of chances where we unfortunately hit it straight to the keeper or whatever, but. Yeah, I mean, Orient were a fantastic team. As you say, I wouldn't like to play them in two legs. We've been there, got the T-shirt, and we failed the last time we played them on two legs.
So, don't remind me of that.
We want to do that again. But, they're a team that haven't lost away from home since October as well. So they're very, very good on the road. Obviously, they do their homework very good. Know how to, close teams down, which they did very well with us, and give us no time on the ball whatsoever. And I mean, their energy levels were superb, which is what we are really good at normally. But they surpassed us, and they were a great team. It's the best team second half that I've seen at the racecourse this season.
Yeah.
Keeley had to make a good save, didn't he, in the second half, which actually came off a defender. So even then, we didn't really test him as such. I thought we could have got a goal at the end when we went full on, pen them in the box. But like you said, Orient's defence Dan Happy was just magnificent. Yeah. And then when Simpson went off injured and he played well, the sub centre-back Edmonds Green came on and he was magnificent. He made a couple of terrific interventions to prevent a goal. And fair play to them. But I don't want to, in focusing on how good they were defensively, we mustn't forget that going forwards, they were a threat. They were a real handful. So it's just one to put down to experience, I think, in all honesty. And then we go on. Mansfield are having an awful time of it. We've got to take advantage of that. We've got to be ruthless at Field Mill and make sure that we continue our sudden great away form.
Well, is there any changes you'd make to the starting 11? Is there any changes you would be happy to see or think is maybe needed to shuffle things around?
I certainly think that Longman on the left for the first time showed that he can be really dangerous, cutting inside and being a direct threat on the penalty area. And for me, Mullin is fit. I think on the bench, I would be inclined maybe to think that, this is a guy he's had a little break now. I know it's been tough this season because of his injuries, but he is a guy who turns up on major occasions when needed. I keep thinking that he'll do this at some point.
Would be really good. Him and Smith up front would be very interesting, I think. I'd like to see that. Any changes? Sorry. Matty James and Dobson, especially Matty James, I've seen online, is come under a lot of criticism. I think maybe unfair. I don't think it was one of his best games on Tuesday, I must add. Would you change the midfield up, maybe freshen it up? Because Matty James has played a lot of football recently, isn't he? Would you switch him over for Andy Cannon, or would you change the midfield up in any way?
Only because we've got such terrific depth that we can use Cannon or George Evans, who looked excellent in the virtual matches. But I have no issue with Matty James. I think he's a high quality player. He did a lot of nice things on Tuesday. Didn't quite work out for us or for him ultimately. But
I think definitely I'd start with Longman maybe because he was impressive when he came on as a sub on Tuesday night, and he was the only one who's actually making runs into the box and getting the ball into the box. So I'd possibly start with him and maybe McLean, give McLean a break because he's played a lot of games this season as well.
Well, for me, if there's one more change that we're going to make, and let's be fair, I'm not criticising Mark Howard. None of the goals were his fault on Tuesday. But I think if you're going to bring in a player like a Conquo, which I'm assuming is on a good amount of money because he's come from such high caliber at Arsenal, and there would have been championship clubs asking for him and all sorts. For me, I think at some point you do need to put him back in, and it's not a slight on Howard. At the end of the day, Howard is a 37-year-old goalkeeper that was meant to be a third goalkeeper this season, has actually done an amazing job at keeping his place and played really well. But for me, Okonkwo can make saves that not many other a lot of goalkeepers can't make through his physical attributes. And yeah, he's had a couple of shaky games this season, but for me, I'd like to see Okonkwo back in sooner rather than later.
What do you reckon, Neil?
I would stick with Howard at the moment. I think Howard, for me, Howard thinks a lot quicker than Okonkwo with the ball that comes out of the back, whether he passes to defender. My only criticism of Okonkwo, yes, he's had a slight knock in a couple of games back. So is he fully fit and fully ready to go? But sometimes his decision making and the time he takes to make that decision seems to take a long time, which concerns me a bit. Yes, we brought him in to go in the first team.
You've got to remember he's a 22-year-old goalkeeper, isn't he?
That's exactly what I was going to say, Chay. He's only a 22-year-old keeper, so he's got a huge future ahead of him. And any knockbacks, I think, as a youngster, you take a bit more seriously than you do when you're a little bit older.
Yeah.
So I would maybe, continue with Howard and maybe bring him in for the Peterborough game. I'm not sure.
When you say hesitating, Neil, do you mean that he, in terms of his use of the ball,
correct?
Yeah.
You can to dilly-dally a bit at the back there, and doesn't exactly know what to do with the ball straight away.
Well, certainly Howard's got an assist on Saturday, and then got Darren Pratley sent off by sending Marius away on Tuesday, didn't he? So his distribution is certainly on point at the moment. It looks like one vote for Okonkwo, one vote for Howard. So I've got the casting vote, and I say, like Neil suggested, one of them plays on Saturday, the other one plays on Tuesday. There. How well did I sit on the fence then?
Totally on top of it.
Yes. The splinters are fine.
It was Wednesday we were playing.
Oh, yeah, I thought that maybe one of them could play for Wales on a Tuesday as well. Please everyone, don't go to the match on Tuesday unless you want to see Wales play, because it's not the Wrexham game.
Do go to the match.
Yeah, please go to the game where it's not playing.
The national side are playing at the racecourse.
Please
on Tuesday. Yeah. Please go.
What have I said?
The thing playing Sweden as well.
Yes. Why is Sweden so uppermost in your thoughts, Neil?
No, just finishing off what you were saying. Yes, the women's team and Wales winning team are playing there Tuesday night, and they're playing Sweden, who were one of the they've been one of the top teams in the world for quite a few years.
Yeah, true. Fair comment. Are you a big ABBA fan though?
I love ABBA. Yeah, fantastic.
Snortaloo. Huh?
Yeah, Snortaloo. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I'm very proud of myself now. Yeah, you two carry talking about football. I'm going to try and think of some more porcine ABBA songs.
For me, I think looking at the game on Sunday, which now is, I think it's a high pressure game now, because we're getting to the business end of the season nearly. For me, I class it as quite an important game with Mansfield's form at this moment in time. We've got Bolton and then Huddersfield right after that. Well, obviously the Peterborough in the cup, but we've got Bolton, Huddersfield in the league after that, which are going to be huge games in the automatic promotion spot and even the playoff spot. Another good away game, Mark, and we'll soon forget about that hiccup on Tuesday. But if we don't get a win or a convincing draw, then I think that there's a little bit of pressure on the lads then.
It would certainly help, wouldn't it? It'd be great as well,
Yeah.
just to expel that memory of Tuesday's game, which, like I said, was a bad half, rather than a bad game, I would argue. It'd be great if we could just do that. And like I said, the form that Mansfield are in at the moment, was it 8 losses out of 9? Not winning, it will. I know in away games normally you wouldn't want to put pressure on yourself, but not winning would be a blow, wouldn't it? Really,
It really would.
Do you guys really think there is pressure on the team? Because for me, they've overachieved dramatically this season already. So I mean, there's no reason for them to be putting pressure on themselves. We're still third in the league, and putting pressure on yourselves make you make mistakes. So
there's always going to be pressure as long as Wrexham are around this moment in time in the way the club is with Rob and Ryan. And I think how well they started this season, which no one could have expected, let's be fair. We've been spoiled as a fan base.
We have.
Let's remember that.
Yeah.
The pressure is certainly on. And as you could see on Tuesday, the racecourse is an incredible place to play football, when it's going your way. But when it's not, it's also a very, very, very hard place to go play football as well, because we've always had, pre-take, we've always had the expectation that's always been there with Wrexham fans. We've always thought we could be better than we actually are. And, we're now achieving it. The pressure is certainly there. And it rightly or wrongly, Neil, in my opinion, but it's going to be there. And, as Matt said, go on, Neil, what you say?
Are you saying then there's pressure from above then that we've got to achieve a promotion this season?
No, I don't think the pressure comes from above. I think the pressure comes from the media and it comes from the fans itself. I think that the board will be looking at what Phil Parkinson's done this season. Yeah, we're third in the league. Yeah, we've tailed off a little bit. We're in the semi-final of the cup. Yeah, the FA Cup didn't go our way in the League Cup. You can forget about that as long as the other two things are doing well. I think the board will be over the moon that we're in with a shout of going up and a trip to Wembley, or even 2 trips to Wembley this season. But I think the pressure comes from the fans. As I said, you don't want to make a habit of the racecourse becoming a hard place to play for your own team. You want it to be the opposite for the away team.
Yeah, very true. And that situation has happened where, you feel pressure because you're not achieving in front of your own fans and the fans are quiet. And yeah, it's a, it's a circle then. It gets worse and worse. And hopefully on Sunday, we'll pull out a full performance and get 3 points again. But, maybe the pressure's not on now away from home, and they did so well at Northampton. There's only, yes, we take a good following to away games, but it's not a packed race course where expectation after the last couple of seasons has been massive because, we've lost so few games there, and we've lost now the last 2 home games in the league on the trot, which we haven't done for quite a long time. So, yeah, I mean, the self-pressure be building up on the guys, I'm sure.
I agree with Chay that I think that the type of pressure there is, and there most certainly is that we are in a promotion race. So every game matters. I think that's that type of pressure. But then ain't that the type of pressure you want?
Yeah. I think it's the pressure that this club can certainly deal with, in my opinion. The players have shown time and time again how good, how resilient they are, and we'll forget about the Leyton Orient game if we get a convincing win on Sunday. And let's remember, guys, 2 losses at home all season.
Yeah.
Let's put some perspective into it. It's and let's remember the other early on the week. It was the 14th anniversary of when we've lost 7-2 to Gateshead at home, when the club on and off the field was the complete opposite of where it is now. I think it's time sometimes, it's okay to criticise the players and criticise things, but we're going in the right direction, aren't we?
100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but, as a fan, and I'm quite happy if we don't get promoted this season. You know, I don't want that pressure to be on the players, and you know, I just want them to perform without that pressure. Yes, they'd all like to get promoted again, and we've got to remember, you know, we've only had some new players come in and they've been with us less than a month, and we had a bit of a blip this time last year in January, February last year, so it can be resolved. But for me, it won't be the be all and end all if, you know, if promotion isn't achieved this season.
100% agree. 100% agree.
But the new fan,
don't go up.
The fan. Sorry, Mark, go on.
I'll be going nuts if we don't go up. I'm not having it. If we don't go up, I'm going to be in the town centre smashing stuff. I promise. No teacup will be safe.
You've just got to look at the achievement we've had. The back-to-back was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we're in talks to do, we're in the solid race for automatic promotion, and who knows, this side could win the playoffs. But the fact that we're even talking about back-to-back, which has never been done before, is an incredible achievement in itself. And if we don't get what we want this season, it is seriously, or even the season after that, it seriously isn't the end of the world. The club's going places regardless.
Yeah, and as you say, Chay, you know, look where we, you know, losing to Gateshead 7-2, you know, and the situation we're in there now, and that's what I always look back on. If we lose a game, hey, doesn't matter. You know, we're in a far better place than we are, you know, 10 years ago. Far better place with, you know, better owners, great support, better players, and for the majority of the season, watching fantastic football at the racecourse.
Any memories from that game, Mark? Any serious memories from that game?
The Gateshead one.
Yeah, the Gateshead game. Let's go down memory lane a little bit.
Uncle Griff's bedtime stories.
I mean, for the people who don't realise the context of it, firstly, it's the biggest defeat we've ever had at the racecourse. The only time we've ever let in 7 goals at the racecourse. Gateshead beating us 7-2, but the context was a lot broader than that, of course, because we were in serious danger of going out of business. The club was being hawked round to a series of owners. The one, and remarkably, this is literally true, the one thing that linked them all together was that everyone was led by somebody who'd been banned from being a director of a business because of their previous actions in businesses they'd run. So we were hardly looking for a Rob or a Ryan at that point. It was horrendous. And yeah, there were massive protests. I don't think there's any doubt that affected the performance on the pitch. My personal point of view is that that's fair enough, because if you are going to if you're gonna, your club's at danger, then making sure your club survives is more important than one game of football, to be perfectly frank. I mean, I'll be honest, it happened sort of very close to me, the protests, because they were aimed at the directors who were directly in front of the commentary position. And it did feel sort of quite aggressive. But having said that, and I don't want to be a hypocrite about this, because generally I'm a sort of fella who's, I think, wants to live and let live. But yeah, it was very. I think sometimes you have to show that you mean business in order to show that something needs to be done and it needs to be fixed. So yeah, it was a little bit hairy. It definitely affected the players on the pitch, and we went down to, like I said, the only time we've ever let 7 goals in at home, biggest home defeat in our 160-year history, biggest losing margin at home in our history, or equal there at least. But it was ultimately probably a very good day in setting out the message that the fans would not be standing by and watching the club go out of business, to be frank.
Yeah. It's iconic, those photos. Yeah, even though we're aggressive and what have you, and probably broke some law doing it, the people he did it, but it was iconic. You know, those photos are iconic. And what the fans did with the club after it is completely remarkable. I think us taking over the club as fans is the most important day in Wrexham's history, and you'll never be able to top that.
Yeah.
But the day itself was bizarre because I remember, we were losing so heavily, but you've got to give credit to the fans. The fans didn't stop singing that day. Jacko, the legend himself, rest in peace, was really getting everyone going, and everyone was singing the songs, every Wrexham song going at the time, and it was quite unifying, wasn't it? In a strange way, wasn't it?
The football didn't matter on the pitch, to be honest. That day, he did it at all. It was all about the unity of the fans and wanting change within the football club, and that was what it was all about.
And I mean, well, I suppose what I'm trying to say, that if you may be concerned by some of the heavy-handed tactics, not that any actual violence took place, I should add, but the fact is that if one of the club's suitors had been allowed to buy it, we probably wouldn't have a club now, or we'd have had to rebuild and reform a long way down and be trying to crawl our way back up, and we certainly wouldn't have attracted Robin Rye's attention because we'd have been so far down the leagues, in all honesty. So it was necessary and it was important, and the fans. I mean, that's why, on behalf of the fans, we put the trust into the club's Hall of Fame, because we needed to recognise that club only existed because of the fans.
Yeah, that's very true.
But again, the most important part of Wrexham's history, because I think the fact that the fans bought the club is a really important part of the storytelling when it comes to Rob and Ryan as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that the fans are passing over our most cherished club, the most cherished thing to a lot of us, to these guys that we actually trust them. It's not just some businessman who's selling the club for a couple million, making a good amount of money.
Yeah.
We handed them the club, and we've trusted them with this precious thing that we've given them. And it all plays into a beautiful storyline, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
we all fought so hard to save the club at that time, didn't we? We all did our bit. I can remember, the big red card day where we had, big red posters up all around the ground, and we had the Fans United Day where we had fans from clubs from all over the country turned up. It was superb. It was absolutely amazing to see all the fans from various parts of the country come and support the club, and just put money into the coffers mainly as well. And as you said, without the Supporters Trust, we wouldn't have had a club today. And without the fans, we wouldn't have a football club today for what the fans have done as well.
100% correct.
A little bit more context, the Gateshead game, the side that lost that game weren't actually that bad side either, were they? Which makes the whole thing like a bit of a freak result. So we got playoffs that season, didn't we? And got knocked out by Luton.
Yeah.
So it shows that side weren't the worst side Wrexham certainly have had in the conference here. We had some really, really good players like Mark Crichton and Marvin Andrews and a few others I can't think off the top of my head. Andy Morrell was playing for that side as well, wasn't he? So, So the fact of the matter, us losing 7-2 that day shows that was just a complete freak occasion, but I think a freak occasion that seriously needed to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2011, we were going well. I'm just trying to find the game here now on my massive spreadsheet. Yeah. So Andy Morrell scored in that game.
Yep.
Because, bizarrely, surprisingly, perhaps, we let in a goal in the first minute to sort of set the tone. Andy Morrell equalised. But after that, yeah, it went a bit wrong. By the 18th minute, we were 3-1 down. So John Shaw scored a hat trick for them, if you remember, and people kept saying we should buy him. Jamie Tolley scored out of the goal, but that was deep in the second half. And the team, if you want to know the team, just hold on with me just 1 second. I think we'll appreciate there's going to be quite a few of the players in that side who were, some of the better players that we had in the National League. Let's get it there. Where are we? Sorry, I'm just fiddling. Are you listening to live spreadsheet reading here on Final Whistle Weekly? Okay, so Chris Maxwell in goal, so very high quality goalkeeper. Then our back four, that right back was, oh gosh, what was his first name? Macmillan. What was his? I can't remember his first name. He was a good defender, and we lost him. We wanted to keep him. You could play full back or centre back. Can't remember his first name now. But he was a good player. And then our centre backs, like you say, Mark Crichton and Marvin Andrews. That's a pair you don't expect to see getting beaten too often.
Yeah.
Left back Neil Ashton.
Yeah, very good player. One of the best of our. Yeah. If we're talking also so far, if we're just talking all-time National League era side, there's a few players you could actually chuck in that hat there straight away.
Absolutely. And then in midfield, holding midfielder was Chris Blackburn. He was a good player.
Yeah.
The midfield, get this. All right, you're saying about all-time National League 11. Dean Keats, Jay Harris, and Lee Fowler.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's ridiculous midfield.
Yeah. And then up front, well, actually, I've got to be honest and say that this doesn't add up. Oh, sorry, Morel and Mangan were the two up front.
Andy Mangan.
So
two very good strikers there. Yeah, it's a very good side. As I said, probably one of the best we had in that National League era. So it just goes again. It was just one of those freaky games that you get once in a while, like the Dover game, things like that. Just one of those it's one of those games that you go to, whether it's for positive or negative reasons. You always remember being there. It's a game you'll always remember you'll always remember quite clearly. Yeah, and quite nice reminiscing about that.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well to note, just to emphasise that this was a good team. We were fourth in the league at the time. Yeah. So, and it's February. So we were, similar position, to what we are now. And ironically, the next game is also a memorable match. Talk about a team showing a bit of character and bouncing back was when we won at Wimbledon with Matthias Pogba scoring.
So,
the game after we let in 7 goals at home, we went up to 3rd place, which is a fair feat. The other thing that strikes me when I look at this and consider where we're at now, despite the fact that we're consistently up there, crowd was 3,078. And the crowds continue to be around either the low 3,000s or high 2,000s, which again shows the hard times that we were suffering. I remember being pleased. It was Andy Morell's second debut. It was the first game of the season at home to Cambridge. I remember being pleased with the crowd. First day, 4,040, which again tells you a lot about how we've moved on, doesn't it?
You've also got to remember away sides didn't travel as much back then as well. Yeah. I also do. I think we look back at historical attendances from Conference and Football League, not just us, say Stockport, for example. I think post-COVID, people going to watch their local side rather than staying home watching Premier League sides. It's become really trendy and it's become a really positive thing, and people go watch their local more now.
Yeah.
The narrative that we never had fans before the takeover is
that's flawed.
It's a load of rubbish.
Absolutely correct. Gateshead brought 66, by the way. So no, 60.
There you go then.
So there you go. That's how many of their fans watched their glorious day, bless them.
Exactly.
Anyway,
can you remember that somebody only brought like one fan? Was it Eastbourne Borough or something?
Well,
We were playing in that.
that game
Yeah.
was 2 weeks later. You're quite right.
Yeah,
We Scarborough at
yeah.
2-1, and there was one fan. However, was it the previous season? Histon brought nobody.
Yeah.
Oh no, the previous season they brought 11. I beg your pardon. Where's that Histon game then? I gotta find that. But
We were singing "Shall We Sing a Song for You."
What's that?
Well, the Wrexham fans sang "Shall We Sing a Song for You," and they all started saying Hayston after it as well, because it
I don't
was
remember
just
that.
hilarious.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that was the September of the season where we played Gateshead. So 0 fans from Histon. We beat them 4-0, which is kind of understandable, isn't it? It wasn't much to play for. It's not much point in playing for your badge when your fans can't be bothered to turn up for your badge. But there's an
Exactly.
alternative, which isn't the one to get into now, I guess. But
So that's when you realise when you lose a game on Tuesday night, things aren't that bad, are they, guys? When you look back to 10 years ago.
Exactly so. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Right, let's talk about donuts, shall we? Donuts and worldies, because our guest today, Tumber Massanka, a man with an eye for the spectacular, scored, as I said in the intro, one of the iconic goals for Wrexham, an unbelievable overhead kick against Guiseley, his first goal in senior football, believe it or not. And also, I first chatted to him because he caught my eye, because he's now, apart from playing for Warrington Rylands, or he's on loan at Clitheroe, he's also taken a hand in helping the family business, which makes some rather impressive looking desserts. So we had to talk about that first, but me being me, I want to know more about Congolese donuts. And so here he is, the man himself. What a legend and what a popular guy, Tumba Massanka. Well, firstly, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, we have really got a soft spot for you at Wrexham, I've got to tell you, and it's a treat to see you again, mate. So how are you doing, first and foremost?
First and foremost, obviously, thank you for having me on. Honestly, it's great, obviously, to speak to people that are involved with Wrexham football again. Obviously, yourself having us work together and stuff like that. But no, I am really good at the moment. How have you been yourself?
I'm not bad, although my throat's a bit rough. I tell you what, well, I'll just get through this, I reckon, then I'll go for a lie down. Before we talk about football, I deliberately want to mention this at the very start as well, because you've got a business venture at the moment, which is fascinating to me. Tell us all about that. It sounds terrific.
Yeah, so I've got a family-owned business called Tshibangz Bakes, TS. Do you know? I'm not even going to bother try spelling it. I'll send you the details so you can put it on the bottom of the video if that's easier for fans and for people that are interested. No, so basically, I went through a stage maybe about 2-3 years ago where I was thinking, what am I going to do after my career? Obviously, having played football all my life, I've always kind of struggled to figure out what I actually enjoy doing outside of football, because football's always been all I've known. So in about 2021, my mum and my sister started the business, and they just started baking for friends and family. I think it was like just after COVID periods. Excuse me. And one day, I was at Macclesfield at the time playing for Mac, and we just won the league. And I thought to myself, do you know what? Let me buy all the desserts off my mum, get her to make them. I'll take them to football and see what people think of them. So at this point, I'd never tried the desserts either, funnily enough. Yeah, so I thought, let me see what other people think of them first. So I took it into football to my teammates and stuff and the fans, and it was literally gone within 15 minutes of desserts. And I thought, you know what? This is something that I could actually jump on. And obviously, I've been lucky enough to meet so many people through football, and I just thought I can get in rooms where my mum and my sister probably can't. So I want to use that to the advantage of this business and to grow it. And then when I did actually try the desserts, I thought, do you know what? We've got an amazing product here. So it's just about getting it out to the right people in different types of environments and that. So yeah, that's how it started, really.
And some of them, I believe, are, sort of authentically Congolese, aren't they, as well? So your heritage,
Yeah,
which makes
yeah.
it
So
interesting and different.
yeah, so our main dessert is called mikate. And it's basically what it is. It's like a donut ball. It's like a donut. Yeah, the best way to describe it's like a donut ball, sweet. We have loads of different variety of like toppings that you can put on it. So there's cinnamon and sugar. There's caramel. We have a cookie mayhem. We have a biscoff option, pistachio option. So we have quite a lot of different options. And to be honest, we've done quite a few pop-ups around Manchester in the apartments and stuff like that. And people have just loved it, to be honest. People have took to it. That alongside the cinnamon buns, people really, really like our cinnamon buns that we do homemade. And waffles. So we have quite a variety of different things. Also, we do savoury food as well. Um, Quest. So yeah, it is really good, and to be honest, I've really really enjoyed it because it's quite similar to football in a sense where you're working under pressure a lot of the time, working with timings and stuff like that, and so I've really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. We need to get it down to the racecourse. I reckon people would love a bit of that. Although I've
No,
got to say,
definitely.
I'll put the links in the description of the video. Although I've got to
Yeah.
say, I've been losing weight lately. That was not a good website for me to go on. So I was staring at the screen thinking, so, but man, they look amazing. Anyway,
Ah,
let's get
thank
on to
you.
football, shall we?
Yeah,
I mean, great background for you as well. Obviously, you picked up early on. So before you come to Wrexham, you were at Man City, United, before finally going
yeah,
to Burnley. I mean, it must have been a great experience, very competitive to be getting into those sort of places.
yeah. Do you know what? I've had a very amazing football upbringing, to be honest. I was very lucky enough and very fortunate enough to of being at Manchester United Academy at a young age, from pretty much basically when I first started to play football, 5 years old, I think it was, when I first ever went to the Cliff Training Ground. And ever since then, really, it was amazing. I was at United up until 12 years old, and I loved every single moment of it. I couldn't. I still have great memories to today, like when I bump into ex United Academy graduates and stuff like that, which around about same age, younger or older. Everyone kind of has similar stories, so it's really nice. Then after United, I went on to City for a little while, which I also enjoyed as well. I met so many lads that I knew anyway from being young and playing against each other, but it was a really good experience. And then on to Burnley for 9 years, which when I first went to Burnley, it was such a shock because I'd been used to, you could almost say the silver spoon, to be honest. Like being at Man United, you get everything done for you, you have your kit and all that ready, and you get boots, and you've got all these amazing facilities, same as Man City at the time. But when I went to Burnley, Burnley didn't have the amazing facilities that they have now, and the academy. They've done amazing as a club to get to where they are now in terms of academy status and all that. But when I went there, it was a far cry from what it is today, and it was a big shock for me at the time. But I really, really, I loved my time at Burnley, to be honest.
You scored a lot of goals for their under 21s, didn't you, as well? Um,
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if I didn't go through that period at Burnley, then I wouldn't have obviously come across, ended up at Wrexham, and it's quite funny, to be honest. 'Cause I think pretty sure it was Brian Flynn.
yeah, yeah.
Brian Flynn, yeah. Brian Flynn recommended me to Keatsy at the time. I think I'd just come off the back of a loan at Morecambe. It was, and at the time I was kind of struggling with form. I needed minutes and stuff like that, and I was going through quite a tough time mentally, you know, because as a striker, when you're scoring goals and then things dry up, it's almost like you forget how to play football in a sense. So I think it was perfect timing, to be honest.
And as well, you were at Morecambe and York as well on loan, and it didn't look like necessarily they were the best places to go to. Once you've gone to
Yeah,
Wrexham, I thought Keatsy A knew how to put a squad together, and B, I think knew how to handle players. And it,
yeah,
like you clearly immediately flourished and thought, all right, I like it. This is more
yeah.
like it, you know.
Yeah. Like I don't, no disrespect to obviously Morecambe or
No, no, no.
York. I like at Morecambe and York. I learnt great lessons. At York, I learnt that obviously football's not all about everything on the pitch. I've learnt a lot about the mental side of the game at that point. At Morecambe, I was in an amazing change room, and we had an amazing manager at the time. And if I didn't go to Morecambe, I would have never met Geno, who eventually later on went to Wrexham together, and he became like it was like almost like an older brother and a mentor to me, and we still keep in touch till today. So yeah, I mean, the time that I did come to Wrexham, like I always remembered Wrexham from when I was younger, from the academy always being good. Um, and I always remember Wrexham being the Welsh club. So when the interest first come in, I thought, you know what, this could be interested. So I straight away, after speaking to Keats, he was like, yeah, I'm interested in coming. And then I'll never forget my first game, North Ferriby away, no, North Ferriby at home it was.
Yeah.
And I remember going for on goal and my legs just going because I was so tired. But then I remember just the roar from the crowd. And I thought, wow, it's a big club, this. So I think from there, I just fell in love with the club, to be honest.
And I mean, Keatsy had brought in a lot of experienced players, which I'd imagine
Yeah,
made a good changing room for you as well. You got James Jennings. You've also got people like Eisel McLeod to work with up
yeah,
front.
yeah,
Cara, Russ Penn, all these different players, Paul Rutherford. I mean, must have been
yeah.
a good environment for picking up tips because these are sharp guys.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was a really good experience for me at the time because I was still young. Um, I've always had a big personality, whether it was at Burnley, whether it's at United. It doesn't really matter where I'm at. I'm that type of person where I like to involve myself with what's going on. Like if I go to a new place, I'm always intrigued about meeting the people, having conversations, and I'm not afraid to go and to speak to someone and introduce myself. So it was great because there was so many different personalities, some quiet people, some loud people. It was just a great mixture at the time there, and I got on with everyone really well. So yeah,
And of course, one of your teammates is now Thomas Tuchel's assistant as England manager,
yeah,
Anthony Barry.
yeah. Do you know what? It's honestly it's crazy. I remember when Baz, obviously playing with Baz. It's funny because he's actually obviously we'll go on to it later, but my actual first goal for Wrexham, he was involved, and when I've told my mates that this guy was my teammate, even when he went to Chelsea, I was like, he's
Yeah.
done amazing. But now that he's obviously part of the England setup, even when he went Bayern Munich, it's amazing to see and to think that we was playing together at Wrexham is just crazy. And to be fair to Baz, he's an amazing man, really nice man, always have time for people. So yeah, I wish him all the best.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Well, I'm sorry. Before we get to that goal, don't you worry. I wasn't going to forget about that goal. Since you confirmed you'd be able to do this interview, I've been going around showing people your goal, and the jaws drop. But we'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah,
Because your second game, I mean, geez, talk about sort of out of the frying pan into the fire. Chester away coming on last 20 minutes for that that sort of match, and the
yeah,
atmospheres at that time, but I think I would say were particularly bad in those Wrexham
yeah,
games because the bubble match thing that kept the fans separate,
yeah,
I think, made the atmosphere in the ground worse because the fans
yeah,
did like that. So, and I remember it being a very competitive game. They draw because of a very dodgy penalty. Russ Penn concedes,
yeah,
and I don't think he makes a challenge. But that must have been, a hell of an experience for a young new player coming through to be playing in something like that.
Yeah, do you know what? I loved every moment of it because it was like the feeling of all the tension, obviously, that's built up before the game. Obviously, the rivalry, it's a big rivalry, do you know what I mean? And at the time, I didn't really understand it. But I just knew that the feelings were so strong towards each other. And it's when I actually went on the pitch and played, and after the game, I realised how big the game actually was. And we was unlucky that day, not to take the win. Obviously, like you're saying, a decision which I didn't think was the right decision at the time. And when we did look it over, it was a wrong decision. But it was just a great atmosphere to play in. And as a young lad, they're the types of games that you've always wanted to play in. And thankfully, we did end up going back there in the following season, and obviously the famous win, the Sean Pearson goal. But yeah, no, it was great.
Absolutely, yeah. And then soon after that, it's your first start, I think, if I remember correctly, is that goal, Guiseley.
Yeah.
Right then, talk us through it. What a hell of a goal it was.
Yeah, so do you know what? It's quite funny because on the Thursday, I remember the Thursday in training. Can't remember if someone got injured, but I remember I trained really well, and Keatsy spoke to me. He was like thinking about like you being involved and starting in that on the Saturday, so be ready. So I was up for it already. Like I was excited, young, like and quite funnily enough, I think that's the last game that my granddad actually come to. Like, my granddad don't really come to. He loves football, but he never really gets the chance to go to like my games. So he came with my dad and my cousin that day, and I remember that day because I was just. I don't think I was nervous, but I was just excited. I just wanted to get things right. I wanted to make sure my first pass was to a red shirt and stuff like that. And I remember like we started really well in the game. I think it was did Isel score? Someone scored. Or
I think yours was the first one, I thought. I could be wrong.
oh yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
just remember us having great momentum in the game and we played really well. And to be honest, the goal, like, I'll be completely honest. As a kid, I always tried on the sofa just to try the overhead kicks as most kids do in the living room of the house and that. So in that moment, that goal was completely natural to me. That was the first thing that came to my head. I didn't have anything else in my head to do except from that. And thankfully, obviously, it went in.
it was beautiful, and you
Yeah,
nailed it as well. It wasn't a Wayne Rooney overhead shinner.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you really nailed it. It was
yeah.
such a goal. I mean, honestly, how much? I mean, is that your first senior goal, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, that was my first senior goal. So, like that day after the game and stuff like that, obviously there was my phone was blowing up like with my friends and family and stuff like that, people from Burnley and stuff like that. But for me, it was just such a lovely moment because obviously you're playing in front of I can't remember what the crowd was that day, but it was a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? And like for that to be my first senior goal after what I felt like I went through prior to coming to Wrexham, it gave me that boost again and that confidence again to remind me that I am still a good player at the time. So yeah, it was really nice.
Geez, if he can score a goal like that, you're a good player. There's no question about that. I tell you, most
Yeah.
people can't even get off the ground that high. Never mind do anything else at the
Yeah.
same time. It was quite funny for me, actually, personally, because I very rarely did the commentaries on the video. I
Yeah.
usually do the radio, and I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
remember why, but I did the video commentary that day, and it was
Yeah.
quite funny because obviously your goal travelled. Lots of people were seeing it, and I
Yeah.
had lots of people saying, "Oh, we heard you getting excited," and I was like, well, "I didn't do anything." Wouldn't you get
But
excited if you saw a guy do
well,
that for your team? Oh
it
man!
was it was crazy because even in that game, like my goal was a great goal, but even John Rooney scored a great free kick as well in that game. And nah, it was just a mad day, honestly.
Yes.
Um,
And it was also mad because John Rooney at the time was like playing on the bench because if he made another start, we'd have to give him a contract. And there was
So
all
there
sorts
was
of
so
weirdness going on.
yeah, there was so much going on at the time in the change room and that, but it was just great. Like to be a part of that was just really it was great times to be honest.
And you kept going, of course. I remember getting an early goal at Braintree, you and Ollie Shenton scoring the goals. And
Yeah,
it's been interesting as well. You know, it's National League then. Well, now it's a funny sort of league where some very big clubs meet some quite
yeah,
small clubs. Nothing wrong with being a small club, but you know,
yeah.
playing at Braintree very different from playing at the racecourse.
Well, that's what I mean. I think at the time it was quite mad because, like you're saying, I always felt fortunate and lucky that I was able to play for a club like Wrexham because a lot of people at the time, but obviously Wrexham was a sleeping giant at the time. Like I knew how big the club was from afar, but when you're actually there, like you understand what it means to the people, the local community, and obviously how big the size of the club is. You see the legends, people like Joey Jones and that when they tell you the stories and stuff like that, you think, wow, like you are really at a special club. So obviously playing against a lot of the teams in the National League at the time, no disrespect to them, it was so different. Like playing away from home was so different. But I loved it. Like I say, as a young footballer at the time, it's part and parcel of your learning. Do you know what I mean? In your career, so it was great. But now, obviously, the league has got all the glitz and glamour now. It's got all the TV deals and that, and there's so many big clubs in it now. So it is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you also, another memorable game you played at was going back to York, which was
Oh,
a big game for us. It was Easter Monday. Loads of Wrexham
yeah,
went down. It was our previous manager, Gary Mills, in charge of York. They were in danger of going down. We were
yeah,
pretty safe, but another result would have
yeah.
been sure. And we put on a really big performance. It must have been weird going back to York and experiencing it like
Yeah.
that.
Do you know what? It was that I think that's my favorite ever game.
Yeah,
Probably in my career.
yeah,
I'd honestly, if I could relive a game, it would be that game. Even over the overhead kick because the emotion like for that game, not just for me personally, but for the club as well at the time. Like there was so much between the two clubs at the time. And I always remember that game because I remember going through early and missing a chance. And I remember the fans, like the York fans, were just hurling abuse at me. And they abused me all game, to be honest. For what reason, I don't really know because I never really got a chance like that at York. But it just made the whole game even sweeter. I think I assisted Leo that day for
yeah.
the winner, if I'm correct. But it was such a great result because we dug it out. It was a tough place to go. They had a good side at the time. I think they had I think John Parkin was up front from that day, if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we played tremendously and to see that many Wrexham fans there and the celebrations and that when we did score, it was amazing. Obviously, it'll always be a moment when I look back on the pictures. It did, like some of my favourite pictures playing for Wrexham are from that game. So yeah,
Yeah, it was a big game for us in so many ways, and not least because, like you said, Leo, who hopefully is going to be on this show in a couple of weeks' time, actually. But I mean, that was his first senior goal that you set
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Great finish. Is at the Wrexham end, the player that we
yeah,
brought through. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was a
yeah.
heck of an occasion that was.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then Leo's great. He's a great player. He's
Yeah.
always, even at that time, you could see how good he was. Obviously, it was a shame that he had to move on from Wrexham and stuff like that. But he's gone on to obviously have an amazing career at this current moment in time, and he's doing really well with his family. So I've always wished him well.
Well, heck, it's mad. You're playing with the England assistant manager and a guy who's playing in Europe this season. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
good.
It's crazy, and I think that's the beauty of football.
Yeah.
Everyone goes their own separate ways and different paths and that, and it's amazing to see what people do achieve. So yeah.
Now, I've got to mention that there's another game that season I really want to mention, which was away at Bromley. It was boiling hot. You came on in the second half. It was so hot. If I remember, Ollie Marks sort of went off with sunstroke.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you came on in the second half. We were getting battered. You totally transformed the game. You scored a couple of goals. It was just, we lost 4-3 in the end, but it was just one of those mad end of season games. And and,
Yeah.
and you established something, which I've got to ask you, what have you got against Bromley? Because you just couldn't stop scoring against those guys. 4 goals in 108 minutes. That's a goal every 27 minutes. Something about those Bromley centre backs you liked.
You know what? That I think they just must have been my lucky team at the time, to be honest. Because even now you've reminded me, I even forgot about that game, the Bromley game. But now that you mention it, I remember it very clearly. And we was unlucky not to win that game, to be honest. I think they just edged us out at the time, but just like you say, great memories. But it was good. It was good. I remember that day because I was a bit frustrated that I was on the bench. But with that being said, I just thought just get on with it and show the manager
Yeah.
why you should deserve to be on the pitch and stuff like that. So yeah.
I tell you a reason why you may have forgotten about it. And the biggest reason I was frustrated afterwards was that the home team filmed the games, but you will never have seen your goals
Yeah.
because they filmed the first half, and then after the match, their media guy came up to me because they'd give me the video of the matches,
Yeah.
the highlights. And he had a look on his face. He was all apologising. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What they'd done, because it was the end of the season, they'd let a lad they were training on the camera film the
Uh
second half. And
yeah.
he filmed the second half, but he forgot to press record at the start.
Oh
So
God.
he stood there for 45 minutes doing all that. He wasn't recording it. And sadly, that's both your goals, and they were never filmed.
Wow.
Isn't that a shame?
Wow. What a shame, but oh well.
That's life, isn't it? The
That's life.
And then the end of that season came. You came back again, another loan spell with us. When that possibility came up, was that an easy decision to make?
Oh, it was a no-brainer. As soon as I got the call, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going." Like, because I felt like I had unfinished business, obviously at the club, and I just like I said, like it just felt like home. Like I'd made, like for example, someone like Geno. I was with Geno and Cara every day. We used to car school, and Shran Jalal at the time, and like we had such a really good bond and stuff like that, and I didn't want to go back to under 23s football at that time because I knew going back to under 23s football, once you get that taste of men's football and playing in stadiums and that, you don't want to go and play in under 23s.
Yeah.
So when that opportunity arose, it was a no brainer.
And as well, Keatsy had put a lot together that summer as well. His first chance to have a pre-season and build his own team. We had a
Yeah,
hell of a defence, didn't we? Pearson and Smith and Kevin
yeah,
Roberts, Wedgbury in midfield,
yeah,
Bowden up front, Kelly. We had some nice players and real
yeah.
solidity, didn't we, to play with?
Yeah, no, we did. Like we had some really, really good players at the time, obviously at the level as well. Manny Smith,
Yeah,
Akil Wright.
yeah,
Like there were so many. Like in essence, I think he built a perfect squad. We just fell short. I don't think we achieved what we should have achieved with the quality that we had in the squad. But we still had some great moments, I think, and it was great being part of that team. Like there's so many characters in that change room. So like Sam Wedgby, I played against Wedge a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking, obviously reminiscing about times and stuff like that. I still try to keep in contact with as many as the lads as I possibly can. But yeah, no, that at that time it was an absolute no-brainer. I was always coming back. If anything, I probably felt like I was waiting for Wrexham to get that call in the summer. So yeah,
and you've got a couple more against Bromley, of course. at the racecourse this time, just to spread them out.
Do you know what? Do you know what's crazy about that Bromley game? Is that the game I scored 2?
Yeah.
The funniest stuff that I'll tell you the funniest story about that day, right? So obviously that day the races were on in Liverpool. Is it Aintree?
Yeah.
So the races were on, and my dad used to take me to the games. So there was loads of traffic. So I was actually, I think I was about 45 minutes late. So as I had arrived to the ground, I'm obviously panicking. Like, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get this fine. But I wasn't even worried about the fine. I was just worried about the game.
Yeah.
Got there. I didn't know I was starting. Got there, rushing. As I've got there, the lads were already out doing the warm-up. And then Keitsy told me I'm starting. I said, oh my God, what's your luck here? Like, literally.
Yeah.
And then, it just turned out to be the perfect day. So it was a funny day that day. But yeah.
It's like that overhead kick. Be instinctive. Just live in the moment, get out there, do your thing.
Yeah, like I didn't even have time to worry anymore. Like, you just get on with the job at that point.
Yeah. I've got to ask you, what was Keatsy like to play for him? I've got a lot of admiration for Dean. He's the great as a player and a manager, and he felt like a real sort of footballer's manager, if you like. Players would appreciate him.
No, do you know what? Keatsy was amazing to play for at the time. For me, I think he was the perfect manager, the person that I needed to obviously put his arm around me, give me the confidence that I needed as a young player. He'd tell me when I was wrong, but also he wasn't afraid to let me know that I've done well. Do you know what I mean? And I think if anything, he looked after me really well. Like, he nurtured me really well. Like, he knew when to rein me in, and he knew when to let me be myself, like my personality and stuff like that. So yeah, it was great to play for him. For me, like, I'll always speak highly of Keatsy because I feel like he's the man that allowed me to enjoy football again at the time from a difficult period. So yeah.
That's brilliant to hear. And you went on. I mean, you had some adventures afterwards. You played in Belgium, in Italy, I believe. You got around it.
Yeah. So I went and played. Funnily enough, the club that I went to go play for in Belgium, it's a exact, pretty much similar story to obviously what's going on at Wrexham now. Molenbeek. They was also a sleeping giant there in Belgium. They managed to get promoted a couple of years ago to the second and first division. I really enjoyed my time there as well. It was an amazing club, and that I met some great people. Italy was good, but it was difficult because as soon as I got there, that's when COVID hit. So couldn't really do anything. But it was fun because I learned a lot as well. I learned a little bit of Italian. Obviously, I've always loved being able to be in different environments. You know what I mean? When you learn people's cultures and that, it was great. So yeah.
And of course, the most alien culture of all, you were at Macclesfield for a bit.
Yeah.
Robinson to be there then, I suppose, was he? It was quite an exciting time to be there, I thought.
Yeah, so when I went to Macclesfield, it was quite, to be honest, it was perfect for me at the time when I'd went because I was living in South Shields for a while, obviously, when I was playing for them. And I needed, I felt like I needed to come home at the time. So when I did come back, we had a really, really good team at Macclesfield. We had a lot of experienced pros like Neil Dans, Mark Duffy, what's his name now? Striker. It'll come back to me, but we had quite a lot of experienced players and a mixture of young players as well. So, but it was a lot because there's a lot of attention on the club. So, but it was great times, and it's a great club, Macclesfield. They're doing really well, but they did remind me when I signed there, when they beat us that time. I remember when they beat us.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but it was great time to be honest.
Yeah. Are you still playing now as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so right now I'm on loan at Clitheroe from Warrington Rylands. We started, the Rylands are doing really well. And Clitheroe, we're picking up a few good results in that. So yeah,
Well,
that's
nice
where
one.
I'm at the moment.
Keep it going, and if you don't mind, score an overhead kick for me on Saturday, will you?
I hope I do. I hope I do. Don't worry.
Nice one. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Honestly, thank you so much for joining us. It really is brilliant.
No. Thank you so much for having me, and obviously, thank you. I want to obviously say thank you as well to Wrexham fans because a lot of them still message me till today. A lot of them asked me to come back.
Yeah.
Some of them asked me to come back. But no, honestly, it's an amazing club. And I'll always forever speak highly of the club. And to see what the club have been able to achieve in the last couple of years has brought me nothing but happiness because that's what the club ultimately deserved and it's what the fans fought for. And now you've got someone that actually genuinely cares about not just the club, the local community as well, which is really nice. So it's great to see. And I've still got a lot of friends there at the moment. Obviously, I used to play, funny enough, I played with Paul Mullen at Morecambe.
Oh, yeah.
I know Jacob Mendy's friends from when you were younger, Andy Cannon. I played with Ollie Rathbone at United, actually, who was in the same age group as me at United, Sam Smith. So there's quite a lot of people there now that I have connections with. So it's great to see.
Oh, superb. We'll have to get you back and
No,
bring some donuts, all right?
definitely will do.
Brilliant. What a lovely guy. Lovely to hear from him again. A man who is very, very popular with the Wrexham fans still. Good guy, Tums, isn't he?
Yeah, that overhead kick was amazing. And to be fair to him, I see him a lot on social media. He's always speaking really, really highly of Wrexham fans pre-takeover and Wrexham the club in general. And it always seems really happy to see us doing well. So it's really nice to hear from him. And the fact that he's doing desserts as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't be wrong, can it? Well,
Yeah, just up my street. I like donuts.
yeah, we'll have to get him in, won't we? Get him in for a live recording.
Of course.
I like cooking as well. We can cook some samples for you.
Oh, can you imagine? We're going to turn into what's it called? Sunday morning brunch or whatever that's called on the BBC or something. We'll have to do that. Get some celebrity chefs in. Hey, there's an idea, isn't it?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
we
do
can
it.
get them on a sort of National League themed basis, you know, Histon Blumenthal.
So,
Hey, hey, speaking of buns, he said as he tried to think of other celebrity chefs and how he might be able to somehow work them in. Um, the ABBA pig songs I've come up with so far, Neil, for
go
you to
through
play
that.
to them. I've decided, yeah, I'm going to stick to Snorterloo. I was thinking of Porkaloo, but that sounds too much like Portaloo. Rashomere, Summer Night Piggy. Where else have I got here?
You sure these are ABBA songs?
Yeah. Lay all your pork on me.
That sounds wrong.
It does, doesn't it? So wrong, it's right. Sauper Trooper. Quite happy with that one. And I have a swine. No. Oh man, you're a tough audience. So you're not gonna be happy with gimme a pig after midnight then. Fair enough.
That's
The Rasher takes it all. I've been trying to
like
work Farrow into it. I failed to work Farrow into it. I'm so disappointed with myself. All right, fair enough then. Well,
I'm really impressed, Mark. You come up with all the pig, the pig names and pig farrowing. Where's that come from? Have you looked at them all up on computer?
I'm a man of the soil. I know my stuff. I'm a Renaissance man. I know my pork and my football, my Shakespeare, and my can't think of another thing. I know 3 things. Yeah,
Oh, well, very good.
I've got A-level maths. I could tell you what factorial means if I really had to. I might have to refer to my notes first, but nonetheless, I'm the best in the nation at differentiation.
But
I'm always backed if you gamble on the subtract.
well, on that note,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
on that note, hopefully, guys, this time next week we'll be talking about 3 points to the women's team, 3 points to the men's team, and a trip to Wembley in the future. So,
Wow, that's tasty.
next week's podcast could be either one of the greatest we ever do or one of the most miserable. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Nothing in between.
Nothing. It could be in between. To be fair,
I hope everyone's noticed that. I don't want to call it an intervention the way that Chay has taken over the podcast from me because I'm just talking about pigs and maths. It's not an intervention. I think it's more. I know you feel like when you're a pilot of a plane, and then somebody comes in and put the gun to your head, and says, "Take me to Cuba." It's that sort of thing. So it was a pleasure knowing you guys, and I'll see you in Havana. Hey, maybe at the Bay of Pigs.
I can't wait. Cheers, guys.
Are you going to do that on your own then next week, Mark? Are you?
On my own what? The podcast.
The podcast.
I'll be doing my own breakaway podcast, mate. Don't you worry. I'll be doing a rebellion. I'm going to be the Che Guevara of Wrexham podcasts. Adios, muchachos. Y no
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy the weekend.